I'm,
She outfits herself, goes out on police calls. You know that.
she's a lot of fun. And I did not know, but I have to, I told her text me. She told me about her husband owns the True Value on April and Green.
Look, there's someone else
Yeah,
that just
look
came.
at that.
So there we go.
Good thing we waited.
Oh, look, we waited.
Hold on,
We're waiting for you, Paul.
Right on time. We weren't gonna start the meeting until you got here.
We were watching you on the cameras.
He was probably sitting in the parking lot waiting for 7:30.
Okay, don't want to be late now.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is a regular scheduled Macedonia council meeting, and I believe the hour is at 7:30, so I'd ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Bilkey.
Here.
Ms. Brandt.
Here?
Mr. Molnar.
Here.
Ms. Tully.
Here.
And Mr. Ventura.
Here.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to call on our city chaplain, Thomas O'Brien, who's also American Legion's Post 801 chaplain, to lead us in prayer, and then following, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
With bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty God, as we gather this evening for our Macedonia Council meeting, let us be ever mindful that our council members are here to provide those services that meet the needs of our community. Guide our council members to be open to innovative ideas and work together for the common good that serves all the citizens of Macedonia. Let our citizens be ever respectful of our leaders who work tirelessly to resolve the problems that face our community. And lastly, Almighty God, please give comfort to our neighbors who may be less fortunate and help those who suffer both medical, physical, and mental disabilities. Amen. And now with hand over heart, please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Chaplain, you did another fine job. Thank you for coming out.
My pleasure.
It is
Enjoy
It
the
needs a
night,
shim
it's warm out there.
in the
Yes.
post.
Yeah.
I
Take
tried
care.
several times.
Thank you.
I'll work on it.
Okay, the first item on the agenda would be the minutes of our April 26, 2018 regular meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
April 26, 2018.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. The next item on the agenda is public comments, and I see that we only have one person, Sylvia Hannikin. She'd like to address council. Sylvia?
Yes.
Good evening, Sylvia Hannikin, Hampton Drive, Macedonia. A couple of issues here, but before I start, I'd like to encourage everyone to be aware that the Emergency Assistance Center is having a drive this Saturday. The post office workers are going to pick up bags from the next to your post box, and it'd be a great idea if you could leave something. This is always a tough time of year. Now, putting that aside, let me talk to a couple things here. I have been out of town for quite a while here, but I'm back in town. I have some questions about what exactly is in the charter changes that are being asked for. So I'm wondering, when are we going to be able to see those as a public, the minutes from the meetings? I've looked for the video online. There's no videos of these meetings, are there?
Nope, there's no videos of the meetings. There are minutes which you can request from Mrs. Arcisi for every meeting except for the last one. They haven't been finished yet, so you can request all of those minutes.
Right.
We will be submitting them to council shortly. We haven't finished voting on all of the items. We're waiting for the language for the final amendments, and we will be done by May 14th, voting and meeting.
Okay, so there will be another meeting to...
There will be one more meeting, but it will be a very short meeting as we've done all the discussion with these items. We just need to do a quick vote as to the final verbiage.
Okay. Then the minutes will be available, the legislation is going to be available by May 14th?
No.
No. The legislation will be available on the agenda of the May 24th meeting, correct?
The May 24th meeting?
26th.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the 24th.
Last Thursday.
Yeah, but isn't that
Recent.
the, okay. Whatever the, yeah.
Remember the
So
24th.
that's when the legislation will be available for review by the public as well as the council. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, I wanted to be sure that I understood that because in the past, when we had the charter meetings, there were videos and you could review the videos as they went along. I have another question.
I'll let you know that the minutes are extremely, extremely well done, and they're probably better than any video, so I highly recommend that you read the minutes and you can request
Well,
them
I'm
from
definitely going to
council
read the
secretary.
minutes, and I'll be sure to be providing copies to people in the transparency group. Some of the other questions I have relate to some of the financial issues in the city. I do see that net profits tax has continued to be a problem in terms of collections by Rita. The rest of with holding seems to be up, although I'm not sure exactly how much is refunded out of that. But it's clearly up, and the withholding, it is actually it's on a downward trend in the net profits tax, which of course should be up. Now, there have been some discussions on why that is, but I think that's an important issue that we need to understand. And I think
So
we're
not sure right now how much of the businesses are paying the state directly. There was something passed last year on the state level.
Yes, correct.
That allowed businesses to pay the state, so.
They can pay the
they
state.
We don't know
No.
any information, so
Well,
it
we-
could be up because
Right.
they might have been paying directly to the state, so.
Actually, though the net profits tax has, in the last 3 years, it's sort of flattened out for some reason. And it was before they passed that state law. Now it's worse, it appears, because they could be quite right. They could have paid it to the state and not to the city, not to Rita. But what I would like to do is to be able to have a discussion with the finance director on a couple of those issues, because I want to clarify on my own mind what's going on here, because the importance of making sure that we're getting all the money we need is important. The other thing that I'd like to say is that in a sense, we would be giving up state money if we had decided to give up on the property tax that paid for the fourth shift in the fire department, because if in fact that particular one is not renewed, that 1 mil, we will be losing some money because the state had that rollback, 12.5% they were paying to our city when it said it didn't have to be collected from our residents. So it's an issue there that I'd like to get clarified. And finally, I did put in a public records request on April 14th to get a clear picture on all the invoices that have been issued and payments issued regarding the levy campaign, and I've still not received the invoices or the information. I think it's important that be provided, and I waited a month here, so I think we need to find a way to get it to me. That's it. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you very much.
You made your 5 minutes there, Sylvia. Thank you. Okay. We have no other comments from the audience, and so at this time I'm going to move on to pending and or new legislation. And the first item on the agenda is ordinance number 40, 2018.
I request that 40, 2018 stay on the second reading.
We have a motion, we have a second to that?
Second.
The motion is second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 61.
I move to offer ordinance number 61, 2018 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried.
An ordinance confirming the final appointment by the mayor of Edward Manny to the position of full-time firefighter paramedic.
Okay, you've heard the reading?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 61, 2018 to the same according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, are there any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried. Is that individual here, is Edward here?
Negative.
Negative.
He's not here. It's being taken off probation.
Okay, great. All right, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 62.
Mayor, I offer ordinance 62, 2018 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
We have a second on the motion, a motion and a second, rather. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried.
An emergency ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation enabling the city of Macedonia to participate in ODOT's contract for years 2018 and 2019 seasons, I should say, for the purchase of road salt for the, well, I said it again, for the 2018-2019 winter season.
You've heard the reading?
Move we pass and post according to law ordinance 62, 2018.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. I just want to make a real brief comment about this, is that I think it's so unfair, unfortunately, that the city and all cities and villages and counties and what have you throughout the state of Ohio have to be forced into this situation where they have to guarantee a certain amount of load to be delivered to their community. And if you don't use it all, you have to figure out ways to stockpile it. And yet we're passing this based on some negotiation that the state of Ohio is having, not knowing what our per tonnage cost is. I think that that's, again, a disadvantage. Back in the day, we were able to negotiate a contract with one of the two suppliers, and there were only two back in the day. And if the one supplier didn't get the bid, then we would go to the next supplier, and they would provide it at probably $1 cheaper per ton. And so we would always back up our contracts with the second contract, or the second supplier. And unfortunately today, there's a monopoly on this market. And so we're at the mercy of having to pass a contract, not knowing what our cost is per ton, and having to guarantee 4,500 tons for the 2018-19 season. So it's just, again, one of those situations where our residents need to know that, you know, we are somewhat out of control of what we are going to pay. So it's like a crapshoot. So I just need to convey that. So with that, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 62.
63. I move to offer ordinance number 63 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 97, 2017, relative to the annual appropriations for additional expenditures of the city of Macedonia for the period of January 1, 2018 to December 31st, 2018.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
I move to adopt ordinance number 62, 2018, and to the same according to law.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 64.
Your Honor, I move to waive the 48-hour rule of council.
Okay. We have a
We need a
second.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to waive the rule of council, to have it in its possession for more than 48 hours. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Would you like to adopt? Or motion
Well-
to pass, rather.
Read it.
Why don't we identify what that was first, and then we'll do that, 48 hours? So people know what you're waiving? So
That-
the,
Ask for the readings.
as for the.
Yeah, I didn't get that far yet. Everybody's still talking.
Yeah, and it just,
I move to offer ordinance number 64, 2018 for its first, second, and third reading
Second.
We have by title only.
by title only.
Oh, you want the whole thing?
By title only.
Okay, gotcha. Second. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried.
an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract with Katz Construction for certain water main improvements along Shepherd Road Boulevard and Robin Lane.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
I move to adopt ordinance number 64, 2018, and post the same according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 65.
Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 65, 2018. for
And
first,
waive-
second, oh, I have to
and
waive
the rule.
first?
Why don't you just offer it that, or?
And I
offer it.
also offer to move to
Yeah,
waive the
what-
48-hour rule of
Why don't
conduct.
you move to suspend the 48-hour notice rule first?
Okay, well, rewind. Mayor, I move to waive the 48-hour rule of council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to waive and suspend the rule of council over 48 hours. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried.
All right, now.
I
I'm-
misled Miss Brandt.
You did.
Thank you, ma'am.
I did. I have big shoulders. I have big shoulders, Mr.
I was
Mr.
thinking the
Bill
same
Gates.
exact
I
thing.
misled Miss Brandt.
It's all right.
I have
And,
big shoulders, I can take it.
I move to offer ordinance 65, 2018 for the first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is motions and other legislative
We never
actions.
read
Wait,
Would you like me to
wait.
read it now that I've messed up everybody?
Well,
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Humana for dental insurance for eligible employees beginning June 1, 2018. I just need to go home. That's it.
Okay, any further reading?
Mayor, I move to pass and post ordinance number 65, 2018, the same according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Now, I have big shoulders too, Josephine. So I admit when I made a mistake. Okay, is there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is any other motions and/or legislative actions by council at this time?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for council summer recess, canceling the meetings of the June 28th, July 12th, and August 23rd regular meetings.
Second.
Here we have a motion second to suspend those council meetings for summer break. All those in favor?
I'd like to make another motion.
All those in, well, you want
There's
to?
a pending motion.
Pending
Let
motion.
me take the pending
Well,
motion.
once
We
it
can always
passes,
go back. Well, you can always amend.
Okay.
Okay, we have a second to the motion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye, nay.
Okay, we have one nay on the negative. Okay, motion carries with the majority. Okay, do we have any other motions forthcoming?
No, not now.
Okay.
I didn't have it. I needed to change the day. I was gonna make an amendment to change the day. It's already passed, so it doesn't need to make, I don't
You
need to
can
make
make
it.
your motion now. Like,
It's okay.
All right, are there any correspondence?
No, sir, I don't have any.
Mayor's reports. I'm sure that everybody probably would know that I'd want to comment about issue 9 that was on the ballot and was voted down on May 9th, this past Tuesday, or May 8th, I'm sorry. I stood out at the polls most of the day, and obviously I always respect what residents and how they vote on various issues, and sometimes I understand too that a lot of people are not focused in on issues that we are so close to and that we see every day. So when they get to the polls, they are somewhat unsure of the issues. And as you know, we were asking for a 0.25% increase in the payroll profit tax. And in return, the city was indicating that they would not renew a 1 mil levy, which would have reduced real estate taxes on a $200,000 home, for example, by as much as $120 a year. So they would have had a savings in that area. And so as I stood there and I talked to a lot of the residents that came through, they were confused. They didn't realize that the 1 mil was going to drop off. They had no idea that, you know, the 0.25% was really going to go for a dedicated purpose of police, fire, and service. And I think that there's somewhat of a misunderstanding too by a lot of residents that they think that the city is making all this money and we are just, you know, taking tax dollars and kind of throwing them out the window. And that's not the case. I actually yesterday at a NOPEC meeting had an opportunity to sit with the mayor of North Ridgeville, and interestingly he said to me that his portion of the real estate tax that they receive for their community is at 15%. And I said, well, we're at 9.3%. So he had this actually end of year cash carryover of about somewhere around $3.5 million every year. And our poor city is struggling to keep $500,000 carryover. And that's the difference, if you will, when you look at Macedonia, who has really, for the most part, has not passed any real estate increase in our community since the 60s. And so we rely totally on the income tax to drive the engine here for the city. A couple years ago, I had Rhonda do an analysis, she and I, on what it costs the city to maintain a single-family home in our city for services, police, fire, service, road repair, etc. And it was $2,900 per home. And so where does that money come from? Well, it comes from real estate taxes. But what do we get in real estate taxes per home on an average? $234. So where does the rest of the money come from? It comes from income tax, payroll tax, profit tax. So this council and myself agreed, you know, when we went to the ballot, what's more palatable to everybody? And that would be to go after a income tax to help subsidize the operations of the city. Why do we need to do that? Well, because our fine governor of the state of Ohio decided that he was going to balance his budget and forget about all the local communities throughout the state. He's taken somewhere, what, about 3.7 million?
$632,000 a year.
$650,000 a year for the last 7 years. So if you add that up, you can see how much money the city of Macedonia has lost. And basically what the governor has done by taking that money away from us means that he's telling you, the people, you need to dig in your pockets. I am taxing you and you don't even realize it. I'm taxing you because I need the money to balance my budget. So therefore, you at the grassroots level, and I consider Macedonia and a community of our size to be at the grassroots level, we're very close to our people, that you, the people, now have to dig into your pockets if you want those services for your community. I think we have excellent services in our community, but unfortunately, as a result of this election, we're going to have to make some cuts. And it's not pleasant for me to have to stand up here and say, because the voters, and I think, by the way, the majority of the voters of this community, or I should say, I should thank half of them that at least supported it, and the other half that didn't, I would hope that they would get themselves educated on the issue. But unfortunately, we're gonna probably have to cut branch chipping, we're gonna have to cut leaf pickup, and a number of other related service issues that we are always responding to. So when residents call and say, hey, I need this, we're gonna say, well, we're sorry, because this issue 9 did not pass, we cannot continue to provide these services. I'm not making this up, folks. Our books are open to any resident in the city of Macedonia. You need to go and take a look at our finances. I didn't create this problem. I'm here to try to solve the problem. This council is going to have to deal with what do we do next? How do we get ourselves from under this situation? I'm doing my hardest to consolidate our services with other communities. I had somebody walk up to me at the polls and say, well, we've consolidated our fire department. Why are we having to hire more personnel, and why do we have to buy a new fire truck? Well, we're not hiring any new personnel in the fire department. But yes, we have a fire truck that's over 20 plus some years old, that's on its last leg. We bought it in the early 90s. It's an aerial truck, cost a $1.1 million to replace. and we need to do that. Our consolidation with our neighbors, and I have to say this, for Northfield Center and Sagamore, they have their own stations, they have their own equipment. All the city of Macedonia is doing is providing them with manpower, and they pay for that. They pay us to man their station.
Same with dispatchers.
You know, same as our dispatchers that we do for all of the northern part of the county here. So people I think have been either tainted in some way to believe that we have all this money. I invite each and every resident of this community to go online, look at our finances, see where we're at. I ran into a guy, and I need to tell this story because it just resonates with me. He moved into our community 12 years ago, and he was walking in to vote. And he said he was not supporting this 0.25%. So I called him back and I said, you know, why are you not supporting this 0.25%? Well, I don't think that the city needs it, and I think that they got plenty of money. And I said, well, where did you live before you moved to Macedonia? He says, well, I lived in Garfield. He says, and my mother still lives in Garfield. I says, yeah. I said, Mayor Kolovo over in Garfield is having a real tough time, isn't he? I said, they can't even make ends meet over there. They're going to be in fiscal alert very shortly, as many Cuyahoga County communities are. I said, do you want to be another Garfield? Or would you like to make sure that your city that you live in is solid, has good services, provides the best police, the best fire that you can get? When you pick up that phone, call 911, you have a policeman, you have a fire department that responds, an EMS truck, paramedics. I mean, those are the services that you as residents are paying for. I need to say this, I'm a resident, I've been a resident here a long time, but we're spoiled. We're spoiled. We haven't had a tax, real estate tax, since the 60s. We've depended on the payroll and profit tax. The city gets 9.3%. I gotta continue to reiterate that to the people of this community. 9.3% doesn't do nothing. Nothing. It's very little income to this city. The lifeline for this city is payroll and profit tax. And folks, if you don't support your city, your real estate values will go down. It's just like if you don't support your schools. Who's going to want to move to your community? I'm not here to justify what the schools are doing, but I can tell you, based on how our legislature has in the past stripped us of our inheritance tax. We used to get an inheritance tax each and every time someone passed away who had a large fortune of money. The city of Macedonia used to get that inheritance tax if they lived here. Well, the state decided, well, we're not going to let you local people take that money. We want it. And they took it away from us. Then the state of Ohio said, hey, you know what? We don't want you to have any tangible tax anymore on goods. So we're going to strip that away from you and take that money and put it and just dissolve it. So there are, again, dollars that were coming in from the tangible tax. The state of Ohio and our legislators continue to strip the powers away from local government. And someday the people are going to rise up and say, hey, enough is enough. I'm not electing you guys to go down there and continue to strip the powers away from the local government and leave these people out to dry. And that's what they have done to us. So I hope that the residents of this community, whatever this council decides to do by either bringing this back to the ballot in November or whatever, well, we're in trouble. We don't have enough money to be above our standard of where we're at. We are stagnant. I have been in office 2.5 years and have had zero capital improvement dollars. Zero. And we're working very hard, by the way, to bring in industry if we can, working very hard to bring in new commercial development in our community. And you're gonna see a number of those things that are happening. But that doesn't totally, when you aggregate it all together, bring enough dollars to operate this city. I don't know what the answer is other than us continue to march with trying to consolidate our services. But we need help from the residents of this community. You gotta dip into your pockets, folks. I'm willing to dip into my pocket. You might say my pockets are a little bit deeper, but nevertheless, I'm willing to do that. And the payroll and profit tax affects me greatly. So does the real estate taxes in this community. I pay hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I'm willing to pay my share to my community. I love Macedonia. I raised my family here, raised my kids here, and this is a great place to live. And a lot of people that move into Macedonia are coming from other communities. Why? You know what they say? Your real estate taxes are low, and we like living in this community because your taxes are low. You're centrally located between Cleveland and Akron, so we like being here. It's a safe community. That's why we like being here. So, folks, we need to continue to make our community a safe place, a place where you want to live and raise your family. And we need the support of our residents. They need to stand up, and they need to help us. This is no joke. I'm not putting this money in my pocket, and nor is anyone else on this council or in this city. We are running very thin. We run a great operation, but we're very, very thin. I'm very disappointed in the results of the election. But I do respect the voters' decision. But we have to regroup here as a administration and council and figure out what we're gonna do, how we're gonna proceed. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and I thank you for listening to me. So with that, we're gonna move on to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports?
Charter Review Committee is almost wrapped up. We hope to have our final short meeting just to have them no later than May 14th, which is when one of our members is going out of town. So as far as I know, we're still on track with that. Is that right, Mr. Gaddetti?
That's correct.
All right, so we should have that soon, and hopefully, we have no choice, but we'll give you 24-hour notice before we have our next meeting. And Parks and Rec Committee, I don't really have anything for that. Angela will cover whatever we need to cover.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee reports?
The Northfield Macedonia Cemetery Association has a meeting on Monday at 5 o'clock to review the budget for this year, which will then be presented at the all-community meeting here right before our council meeting, at our next council meeting at 7 o'clock. And that's where, remember that cemetery is funded by Macedonia, Northfield Center, Northfield Village, and Sagamore Hills. So they will all be here and represented.
Thank you. And I understand, Jan, there's taking down the fences over there and all, and putting up.
There are a couple proposals on the table, and they haven't been finalized yet. But we have the old fence. There was a proposal by the people who have the Memorial Park to take the old fence. And I say that because if you go there, you'll see the little iron fence and then the big black fence. And they have a proposal on the table to take that and use it around what they're going to put in a little pond.
Yeah, I've had some discussion about that, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't, but, and then the other one, Councilman Ventura's group has come in to say they would like to help us get the other, it needs to be sandblasted and painted. It's about 15 years old, and the weather has really taken its toll on that fence. So the fence right now is going to stay. I know there was a lot of brouhaha about why would you take the fence down. The old fence, the wrought iron cannot be repaired. We've had several experts already out looking at it, so there's no way to repair it to keep it, and that's why the proposal is remove it. And if it's only the small section, we've talked about keeping very little bits of it to put around the Brandywine Falls settlers. There's a mass grave. If anyone's ever been to the cemetery, there's a mass grave for the first settlers of this community, and it was called Brandywine Falls Community. So if you ever have a chance, not one to walk around cemeteries, but we did do it one day, and we went around and looked. There's some interesting history up at that cemetery.
Were they called the corners?
We're called the,
Huh?
I'm sorry, we're called the corners.
We're called the
We're
corners.
called the corners.
No,
Yeah.
but the original settlers that came in were called the corners.
I'll have to check that out, because it says Brandywine Falls
Really?
on there.
I thought that-
Could I interject something about that?
Sure.
Those people, the deceased there, were relocated when 271 was built, because that cemetery was out near Brandywine Falls. So in our history of Macedonia and the history of the area, that's the story in that. They were relocated to the area of what used to be called the Chestnut Hill Cemetery. That's what the Northville Macedonia
That's ages
Cemetery
ago.
is. Chestnut Hill Cemetery, because of all the chestnut trees.
We're getting
Drop in knowledge there.
That's,
Well,
that
you know,
is,
you
of
would
course,
know.
I don't want to age it, but that's ages ago when my sister's, God, the club doesn't exist anymore. Not the Girl Scouts, the other one. Her house
Indian
was,
Boy Scouts.
her house was on 82 before they built the freeway, so, yeah, we've been around for a while.
Well, you know, Mrs. Guzman's book, which we have.
That's what I have.
She wrote the first
Yeah.
book about Macedonia. We have it still. Anybody who wants to get educated on it.
That's with Mother Gooseman?
Yeah, Mrs. Guzman, she lived actually right across the street from City Hall, Ethel, and she.
Oh, yeah, in the yellow house.
Yeah,
And her husband used to work part-time in maintenance
Yeah.
here.
Charlie. Yeah. He used to tell me about so many things.
I have the book.
Yeah. He was a good guy. Okay, department reports, John.
Thank you, Mayor. All I have is the Nordonia Hills Garden Club will be hosting their annual plant sale this Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon, right here at our old fire station, 9683 Valley View Road. So it's going to be a perfect weekend if you're looking to spruce up your yard. Come and get some great deals on some plants. That's all I
And
have.
they do have a lot of plants there.
Yes, they do.
One year I got some tomatoes out of there, and the tomatoes never stopped growing. They were overabundance. Angela.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mayor.
I wanted to thank John. Me and John went out on Friday and finally moved a sign that we thought was hazardous, intersection at Walters and Twinsburg Road. That intersection, half of it falls in Northwold Center, some of it belongs to the state, so we don't know who's gonna cut the cattails down. So the people who live in Villas of Tuscany, which does fall in Macedonia, had a hard time looking left and then looking right, and our signage was there. So I wanted to thank John for taking the time to go out with me, looking at the sign, and then deciding that moving it would probably be best, just to ease the nerve of some of the residents that are using that intersection. So thanks, John.
Thanks for taking the initiative, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Angela.
Thank you. We are finally kicking off summer in the Recreation Department, so we have a lot of programs available. Dates are out, registration periods are announced, have been announced. Our Fun Fest is coming up June 7th through the 10th. We're very excited about that. We are currently selling pre-sale all-day wristband pre-sale tickets, which will allow children to play games and ride rides unlimited for the day. So those are generally $20 on site. You can get them ahead of time at the rec center for $15, all the way up through the day before the festival starts. So you can purchase those through June 6th. The Spirit of Macedonia Fun Fest. I see someone giving me an evil eye up there.
No,
I was gonna say it if he didn't.
You
yeah.
gotta just satisfy me.
I'm like, why is Nick looking at me like that? And then it dawned on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it if he didn't, because we actually had a contest, and someone, and we
There was
cannot
legislation for
deny that student came up with that term and we adopted it.
And I think it's good. It flows together. Spirit of Macedonia.
Can we give the history of why that came about, what that little girl said? She said that she looked it up, and Mayor Fru Long said that there's a new spirit in Macedonia, and that's how she came up with that phrase to rename our festival. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I do too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that event, again, will be taking place June 7th through
What
June 10th.
is that called again? What is that called
The
again?
Spirit of Macedonia Fun Fest. We
Well, is it the
also,
Fun Fest of the Spirit of Macedonia?
now you're going to get me confused. We also have our summer day camp kicking off, our Tot T-ball. We have our second community-wide garage sale scheduled for June 23rd and 24th, so people can plan ahead. If you're cleaning, doing some spring cleaning and you want to hold a garage sale, we're hosting one citywide where all residents can participate and get on a master list. So that's available. Our Manta Ray swim team is starting up. We also have treadmills and spin bikes available on govdeals.com. So if people are looking to make a bid, place a bid, and look for a spin bike or a used treadmill for their home, they're welcome to do that. And after these items are sold, we're quickly going to get our weight room equipment up on that auction site as well as we replace the weight room equipment. Just want to reiterate once again that those purchases were made with residual tax money left over from the previous tax that had expired last year. So that is not being purchased with any dollars that can be used anywhere else for any department in the city. I think we've heard that question come up a few times recently, so we try and make that very clear when discussing this. And the last item I just want to introduce in the very back of the room, Mateo Petit. He has been job shadowing at the rec center for the last few weeks, and he is soon to be a Nordonia High School graduate. So I invited him to come to his first city council meeting, and I told him I would not make him speak or embarrass him, that he could blend in with the audience. So
Wait,
Great.
you
We're
didn't
happy
tell
to
about
have
the
him.
10 minutes?
What's that?
He has to give it 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Always.
You need to step up here to the mic over here. Tell us all.
Yeah, what did you learn, Mateo?
Like about the city and stuff. I didn't really know about it too much. Yeah, now maybe I've been asking everybody.
Cool.
He's been a big help, and we've tried to expose him to different areas in youth sports and the administrative offices, customer service at the front desk. He's done quite a bit. So he has a presentation at school next week that we'll be attending, so we're looking forward to that.
Just to add on to what you said, Angela, is that the monies that were the residual dollars from the income tax that was on for the building of the rec center, buying that equipment has to be spent for buying the equipment. Just like what we're doing and putting on the new restroom, locker rooms, shower rooms onto the building. Those are, again, residual dollars that have to be spent there. So let's not have anybody think that we're just spending money to put it into the rec center without the fact that, or to believe that there was not a specific purpose that the money had to be spent for. So I want to just state that again, because, again, people like to start issues with making statements, and they really don't know what they're saying. So, thank you.
So, I just want to interject something. Me, Vinny, and Jessica went to a meeting at the NORSD, and one of the things they do, they have a truck, and they could bring it to the Fun Fest, and I apologize for not mentioning, she should have seen her. And on this truck, they also have a dunk tank. And so I'm assuming that we could have a few volunteers here, and then people from the city can throw something for charity. And
Did any ORSD contact you?
Somebody.
No, I can't remember. Someone contacted us with that they had an educational display about the sewers.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was an interactive display,
I
but
remember
no
hearing
mention
about
of a dunk tank.
truck.
No, maybe I made that up.
Oh, I don't think there was. Yeah, I asked her to
That's new to me,
contact
too.
you
I don't know
about that.
where I was.
But I see
Yeah.
6
They did have a
volunteers in the
truck.
front of the room. I think I
Yeah,
see
sure.
6 volunteers up there.
I'd like to write in a couple.
Tim.
Rhonda.
Rhonda, I'm sorry, Rhonda.
That's okay, I
passed
can
you
leave.
up.
Yeah. Probably rather not say.
I just wanted to give an update on the, we don't have any RETA information for the month of May thus far, but the refund program, we have a little over 300 refunds issued for $35,500. I have 50 refunds waiting for my review, and we have 75 refunds and finalized. Well, the tax returns actually have not been filed by RETA yet, so we have those in waiting. First donation, Parks and Recreation Fund. I just wanted to also that the ordinance that was passed, number 63, part of the ordinance had to do with the Shepherd Hills / Robin Lane water project that we are going to be getting reimbursed 100% from the Cleveland Division of Water. So there's no out-of-pocket expense from the city for that project. The other portion of that ordinance was for the payment of the note, $1.3 million note that was taken out at the beginning of this year for phase 2 of the road program. Just recently, that note is due in July, and we will be getting bond proceeds hopefully by mid-July to pay down that note in the end of July. And then it also included some bond issuance costs. So I just want to thank council for passing that, and I have no further comments.
Excuse me, Mayor, in reference to the finance department, I spoke with one of Rhonda's personnel on Tuesday, and she informed me that everything that the finance director has approved has been processed, and they are up to date on everything that has come in up to this point. So they are keeping up with the work that Rhonda is handing out to them.
Great. That's good. So we're able to adequately handle all of, obviously, the refunds, et cetera.
Absolutely, and at the same time, we have the refunds coming in, but we also have a slew of water maintenance invoices coming in as well. So we have that being processed, and we work as a team in the department. So if one person is not busy, they open the mail, put the water maintenance invoices in a stack for the other person to process, and then the other one gets the income tax refunds going while the other one takes care of checks. So it's
Okay.
we're working good.
So have you
Great.
processed the refunds? Are they sent out, or where are we at with all that?
What happens is as soon as the refunds come in, they were processed in order. So we had to work on the ones that had come in first. So if the tax return had actually been processed by Rita, we look at that first. If they're processed, we go ahead and continue on with the refund application form. And instead of using the form that Rita created, which was a little confusing to even myself, we're continuing to use the form that I created, and we have for the primary taxpayer and then the spouse. So we have 2 pages if necessary, and it calculates the entire refund for that family. So she's been processing those. What happens as soon as she's done processing them, she puts them in a binder for me to look at. I review them, and then it goes to accounts payable for processing the checks, and then we file them away. And so we've had over 300 processed.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tim?
No report, Mayor.
John?
I got a call from Chief Zalgas, Northfield Village today. I think everybody's aware of the construction on Ledge Road. It's one way, I believe it's eastbound on Ledge right now. They want to discontinue that. They want to close it to through traffic starting Monday or Tuesday. I believe they're working on the signage. So if you live off of Firestone, you won't be able to go up to Ledge and then continue east. It will be anybody who's coming off of Firestone will only be able to go to the school or the senior citizens place there, I believe. So look for changes for Ledge Road. It's going to be residents only that live on that street. So you're not going to be able to go through anymore. So that we're going to try to send out a nixle before that happens. But that's what I learned today from Chief Salgas.
How is that going to affect Leeton?
They'll be able to get to the school. You'll be able to get to the school, and it's only eastbound. If folks need to go to the school, they can go up Firestone and go to the school. But you can't come off of Firestone and then continue down Ledge to North Bedford or whatever. There's going to be no right turn for them.
How long is that full closure going to be, do they think?
I just get bits and pieces because this is a Northfield project. This isn't Macedonia's lead, so I get bits and pieces. They're trying to expedite this project, so that's why they're doing this. And my understanding was they were hoping to have something done by July. And then they're talking about then changing traffic because they're working on the north side now. So then they're going to flip it and then fix the south side, so they'll have westbound at some point.
Oh, so the full closure is going to be through July?
That's
what
I've heard.
What you think
yeah.
so far? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to step it up for the new school year.
Gotcha. Okay.
And by limiting people through there, it's going to help that they can get the trucks and everything in and out a lot quicker, and they don't have to wait so long for the traffic because it is a busy street.
Yeah.
And you know, if they're trying to do the work, they have to worry about backing into a car, and they have to wait for traffic to clear, and so it's their thought that this is the best thing to expedite the project, to get it over with and move on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, one more thing, I would like to speak on one more thing. We had a very serious issue on my street with an elderly neighbor that lives 2 doors up from me. And as a council person, I would like to commend both the police and the fire department in the way that was handled, because I was on scene. And as a resident, I would like to thank them for the way that was handled and the time that was taken out into consideration by both the police and the fire department. You think they just get out there, ride around in their trucks, and they just ride around and write tickets. That's not so. Both shift supervisors were there from the police department, the fire department, and one of the police officer that was initially involved was there following up this evening when I left my house for this council meeting. The OIC from the fire department took an extended amount of time to make sure that this was followed up by the county and by the hospitals. Very, very serious issue here, and I thank them both.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any unfinished business?
No report, sir.
Oh, Mark.
Oh, Mark.
Oh, come on, Mark, come on.
Mark,
Come
you
up
never
with
say
it.
anything anyhow.
Last meeting we did.
Okay,
They all yelled.
any new business?
Mayor, I wanted to ask Mr. Gelati, but he's not present tonight, and I know with our paving program, it's important to talk about what's going on right now. With the curb replacements that are taking place, that is a very labor-intensive project, and what you're seeing in the Crow Drive area, they're removing the concrete, they're putting a stone back down, there's a machine that's gonna come through, and they're gonna put those in. A lot of people have been inconvenienced, being able to get in their driveways, and it's been a little difficult, maneuvering through there, but I ask everyone to be patient with that. The other piece I wanted to touch on was the paving process. So last year, we realized that we didn't communicate as well as maybe we should have with the way it works. It's kind of my wheelhouse because it's what I do for a living, so I'm going to give a brief explanation of what they're doing. It's called cold-in-place recycling. The machine comes through, mills up the road, puts it into a machine, it adds emulsions back into it, which is like the glue, and it puts it back down. We wait a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, weather dependent, then they do a proof roll. Once that proof roll goes through, they fix all the things that are deficient in the base, so that would be your base of the road. Then they come through and put an intermediate course, which is your middle course of asphalt on the road, and then they come in through the surface course, which is your top smooth asphalt. So it's actually a 4-step process. I've seen on social media saying, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! This is not, it can't be done. There's no way." Well, it's a 4-step process. We need to be patient. This is good stuff. I mean, we've waited a long, long time to fix our roads, and when this is all said and done, I think a lot of people are going to be smiling, and I hope our police aren't very busy because the roads will be smooth, and we all know what that leads to. So it's good stuff coming, and thanks for hearing me out.
Okay, thank you. All right, no other new business or a motion to adjourn into an executive session
Excuse me, sir.
for personnel
Do
issues?
you want to mention from the floor that you're not having the,
Oh, yeah,
Council thing.
how are you
He
doing
wants to
that?
do it
How
at
are you
6.
doing? You still doing it in your
6.
work session?
No, I was gonna do it at 6 o'clock.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, make it easier, so the next meeting, we're doing the hosting of the councilmen. I'll be here at 6:30, and then we have other business at 6:30. So if you'd like to talk to a member of the council, I'll be available at 6.
Okay, I'll make sure that's.
He covered that, I'm good.
But not here on June 14th.
Mayor, I make a motion to go into executive session regarding personnel 121-22G1.
Okay,
Second.
your motion is second to adjourn into executive session.
Mr. Bilkey. You need a roll call?
Go ahead.
You do need a roll call. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm not fibbing. Mr.
I'm gonna
Bilkey.
say yes.
Ms. Brandt.
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
Ms. Telly.
Yes.
And Mr. Ventura.
Yes.
Okay, the motion's carried. And to everyone here, have a happy Mother's Day. We're going to go into an executive session. When we come back, we're just gonna adjourn. So you're welcome to stay, but we may be 10, 15 minutes back. Thank you.
Ms. Brandt. I'm sorry about flipping you around. I actually